All right, everybody. All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Brad Gage of Brad Gage Law, and we're here to talk about developments that are happening at the Pasadena Police Department. About a week and a half or so ago, we stood before these very steps and we talked about what was going on with Officer Tyson Crutchfield. From that, we have learned of several other black officers at the Pasadena Police Department who have experienced their own situations of discrimination, harassment, retaliation, but more significantly, assaults. And we want to talk about assaultive behavior because when you see that in the police department, you're obviously going to see that out on the streets. And so this is about police officers and employment, but it's also about racial profiling and public safety because they go hand in hand. If black police officers are threatened or physically assaulted, what does that mean for members of the community? This is about public safety. We're here to raise public awareness, to applaud those officers that have done the right thing, and to call upon the Pasadena Police Department to help not only protecting its own officers, but protecting the community. We have seen far too many times when black men and black women, brown men, brown women are shot, killed, or injured without justification. And on the other hand, we have a number of fine police officers who are doing the right thing, yet being treated the wrong way. Right. So we want to raise your awareness and talk a little bit about these officers. And we're going to hear from their family members because active police officers, if they talk to the press, they may face more dire consequences. I'm going to start with a little summary of Tyson Crutchfield's case. For those of you that may not know it, she is a Miss Eugene, Oregon. She was an NCAA track star, has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. She intervened in February of this year in an event where she felt that one of the officers was about to escalate a situation and create violence. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what the state of California mandates its officers to do. After that, she was relieved of duty and she was subjected to discipline. We brought out a press conference about that. The very night of our last press conference, on December 1st, 2023, Officer Crutchfield was dispatched to a man with a gun call. Some of you have the video, it's short, it shows a man with a gun. She called for backup, which is what you're supposed to do as an officer. Officers are supposed to roll and back you up. But there was a delay. Officers did not go to back her up. They put her life in danger. They put the community at risk. That is the ultimate kind of retaliation. It was quick, it was swift, and it was potentially deadly. You will also hear from the mother of Pasadena police officer Jarvis Shelby. All his life, Jarvis wanted to be a police officer, serve the community, protect, serve, and help to bridge the chasm, the gap between police officers and members of the community. He loved his job. One day, his commander comes up to him. His commander is not white, is not black, and that commander grabs Jarvis in a headlock. It was sudden, unexpected, violent, and painful. As a result of that, Jarvis has been unable to work. He may not have his job because he may not be able to do it simply because he was a victim of a violent act. You'll hear from the wife of Police Sergeant Milton White. Milton happened to catch a little bit at the end of that headlock. He became a witness. After that, knowing that he was a witness, the department has made his life terrible and has tried to force him out. Then you're also going to hear from another lawyer who represents a lieutenant, and that lieutenant, who is also black, was kicked so violently in his knee that his patella was broken. It was kicked by a white officer. When you have a number of events of violence against African American employees, and you add to that a number of shootings that we have seen in the city of Pasadena that at best are questionable and at worst are completely unjustifiable, you see we are sitting in a situation that is very dire and that takes attention. And we thank you, members of the media, for helping to expose the situation and to bring this community into the light. Pasadena is a city of roses, and we want to see and smell the sweet smell of roses, and we don't want to feel the prick of the thorns. When you have discrimination, when you have racial profiling, when you have retaliation and targeting of officers trying to do the right thing, it doesn't smell like roses, but it does hurt like the prick of the thorn. And now I'm going to introduce you to some of the family members to speak. You want to start? This is Jarvis's mother.
Hello everyone, my name is Kim Shelby. My son is Jarvis Shelby. And I just want to say that this thing has really broken our hearts. My son is truly suffering, he's hurting because the job that he as a child wanted to do to help the community, to bridge the gap, has basically turned on him. When I was told that he was assaulted by his commander, I was livid. There was no words. And I just want to say that Jarvis loves his job. He loved doing his work. He's been faithful. And so now he's hurting. I am asking for the community's prayers, not only just for Jarvis, but for all the families represented here and for those who have not come to light. We must do something. There must be change. Thank you.
My name is Tiffany White. I'm the wife of Sergeant Milton White. I have my father here, who's been a business owner for 47 years, my father-in-law, who's Milton White Sr., who's a bishop in the city for over 20 years, and my son, Adrian. There's a depth to Milton that only I know. I know that Milton loves his family. I know that Milton loves this city. And I know that Milton absolutely loves serving and protecting the citizens of this community. He's a 14-year veteran of the Pasadena Police Department and has served in many different capacities here. As a supervisor, my husband was a witness to a claimed headlock for Officer Jarvis Shelby. A month later, the police department is trying to push him out of his job. This is a prime example of how you're only valued as an African American police officer if you are taking black and brown people to jail and holding up the code of silence. We're asking for your prayers. This city has to fix this.
The black sheep needs to fix this.
And now we're going to hear from Arthur Robinson.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Arthur Robinson. I'm a former Pasadena trainee here. Many years ago, I was assigned to a training officer by the name of Lannis, and we apprehended a subject for public intoxication. We brought him back to the station, and that's when Officer Lannis offered him money to fight me in a different cell. After the incident, because I was in so much fear for my life and safety of my family's life, I resigned from the department and went elsewhere.
And now Kathy Crutchfield, the mother of Tyson.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kathy Crutchfield, and I am Tyson Crutchfield's mother. I would like to thank you all for being here today. Being that Tyson is on active duty and under investigation, I am here to speak on her behalf today. So just to give you a little background about Tyson, as a young girl, Tyson always had aspirations to become a police officer. Tyson's hope in becoming a police officer was to be a catalyst between the police department and the inner city communities that she may serve. On the night of February 20th, 2023, Tyson observed a situation she felt was escalating. So based on her recent training, Tyson felt compelled to intervene, as she was trained to do. After the last press conference, Tyson was working. She had a man with a gun call, and no one backed her up. One day, Tyson will speak to her story, and she will speak to the true meaning behind working in the city of roses. And how she rose from a place where roses don't grow.
Right. Amen.
But she fought hard to continue on, and she fought to blossom though. I appreciate you all for being here.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Alan. Now you'll hear from Alan.
First, I'd like to thank everyone for showing up. I'd like to thank Mr. Gage for inviting me out. So my client is, who I'm very fortunate to represent, is a gentleman by the name of Sam DeSilva. Sam DeSilva is a 22-year Veterans Department. He's a lieutenant currently right now. He's a person of color. He's from Sri Lanka, but he's beloved by his African-American co-workers. They consider him one of them. So what happened to Mr. DeSilva is he participated in a internal affairs investigation, which a Lieutenant Tony Russo is being investigated for making racist comments and engaging in racist conduct in the workplace. My client testified that truthfully, yes, all those things had taken place, and then a retaliation program began against him. Now, while working in traffic with Lieutenant Russo had a mascot. It was a stuffed monkey. The monkey's name was racist. So the black officers of color had to put up with this every day because this man's in charge. They didn't want to get retaliated against. What happened on September 25th, 2021 is that Lieutenant Russo came up behind my client, Mr. DeSilva, kicked him as hard as he could in the back of the knee to the point where Lieutenant DeSilva rather, had to get surgery. Lieutenant DeSilva was desirous of prosecution. He wanted a prosecution. It's a grievous injury. That never happened. Allegations of racism. Lieutenant DeSilva made allegations that there was major fraud going on in the traffic department under Lieutenant Russo. Nothing happened. I believe he got a few days off, slap on the wrist. All the internal affairs investigations were combined. Nothing happened. This is how things are here. It's how they've always been. I've lived in Pasadena or worked here almost all my life. This is part of a generational racism that I've experienced firsthand as a person of color. I'm Mexican American. And we're going to be in 2024 in a few weeks, and if we don't stand up with these other officers and turn into some great people and folks like you, when's it going to end? My grandkids, when will it end? Thank you.
Tell me your name, please.
Alan Romero. Thank you.
So, when you look at all of these officers' situations, and you see that this has been going on for years and years, it's so distressing and so troubling. And I want to just take a moment to talk about Arthur again, because Arthur was a young police officer. It was his lifelong dream to be a member of the police department. He was forced out of this department because of fear. He did go to other agencies, and he had a career as a peace officer. So we want to thank him for that service. Now, interestingly, it's alleged that the man who offered $40 so the suspect would fight with Arthur was fired. But a year later, he was returned to the department and apparently got his back pay. Now, is that showing that we're going to not tolerate racial events and assaults? Or is it showing that it's okay? This is about sending a message. What is the message that the Pasadena Police Department is sending to its employees and the community? And what is the message that we can bring to put an end to that? Thank you so much. If you have some questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Did the officer who, Officer Crutchfield intervened with, did he draw a weapon on the suspect?
He did not. He only used his hands on it, and there's a video, I believe, available on that if you are interested.
The officer who was in a headlock, what kind of injuries did he sustain?
Injuries to his neck and shoulder area.
Seen by a doctor?
Yes.
Can you identify the people in these pictures so we get them correctly?
Yeah, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to have Arthur help me out of this.
This is myself back in when the incident happened, when I was sworn in by Chief Malikian at the time.
Speaker.
At the bottom, you have Jarvis Shelby, officer here.
And I want to just mention this picture of Jarvis Shelby for a moment, too. This was during an awards ceremony after he had saved the life of a man. So he was a hero, doing the right things, staying out of trouble, arresting those that deserve to be arrested, protecting those that deserve protection. Gets an award, and yet that's not good enough. And he was forced into a headlock and now is suffering with issues. Over here, we have Milton White. And you heard from Milton's wife, Tiffany. And this is him in action with the community, and also his proud moment of being an officer, standing by the flag. And back here, you have a couple of pictures of Tyson Crutchfield. I'll try to get out of the way more.
You have the chair of the Pasadena Oversight Board right there.
And we have Tyson, who is going for Miss America. So we have one of her pictures, and then one of her pictures with a famous guy, but I don't remember his name.
So public record that Velasquez has been harassing in this community, and they've done nothing from the mayor on down for years. So
Yes.
The officer that Officer Crutchfield intervened with, what happened to him? She was placed on administrative leave?
he was still on duty to harass the community.
As far as I know, that officer had nothing happen to him. And as this lady has pointed out, we understand other individuals have brought complaints against the officer, claiming that he's engaged in excessive force, primarily to African Americans, but also other groups.
Right. What was the motive for the chokehold?
I don't know of any specific motive. I've certainly not spoken to the commander, but I am unaware of the commander putting a headlock chokehold on any person other than an African American person. So I'll let you draw your own conclusions.
Sir, are you aware of any other claims against the Pasadena Police Department from black and brown police officers? And if you do, how many are there?
I don't know that I know all of the different claims, but I do know that there are other claims against the Pasadena Police Department, including having complaints of racial profiling, excessive force, shootings, deaths. So there are a number of different incidents that have taken place that are all interrelated. Any other questions?
I forget if it was you or someone else. Can you describe the stuffed monkey thing? I don't get that.
Well, I'll let you hear from Mr. Romero, but obviously a stuffed monkey in that context was a racial stereotype. I'll let him explain
and it was
more.
officially in the police car.
Well, so the stuffed monkey, it sounds unbelievable. I talked about this with someone, they said, are you serious? Like, yeah, I'm serious. So in the traffic department, when Lieutenant Russo was running it, in addition to committing widespread fraud, not letting people show up, effectively wasting tax dollars from the state that were intended to run DUI checkpoints, instead of that happening, they were having basically Netflix watch parties. So one of the things he instituted was a stuffed monkey, which was the mascot of the traffic department, and it was placed on African American members' desk, other persons of color's desk, and the monkey, so there was no doubt about the intention of the stuffed monkey. The monkey's name was racist. And I heard it and I said, what did you say? Did you say racist? He said, yeah, the monkey's name was racist. Did you think it was odd? He said, yeah, but we've been here so long, we have to put up with this type of, racism, or else we're going to get, effectively, they run the risk of having violence against them, which is what happened here. So yeah, it sounds crazy, and that's literally what happened. I know it's hard to believe.
And, all of the black officers that we're representing have experienced some type of racist comment or racial slur while working at this department. When Arthur came in, he was the first black officer in 7 years, so they gave him the name of Token, as an example. We've heard about the N-word being used and other kinds of racial comments that should never be tolerated anywhere in society, but especially not in a place that's supposed to uphold the law. Thank you all.
Before you leave, would you tell us what you would like to see from us in the community? We see a lot of people here today, but a lot of people didn't hear about today. There's a lot of people, hundreds and hundreds of people who would have been here today if they had known. What do you need from us, and what do the families need from us to make sure that these people are held accountable?
Well, as far as community knowledge and letting folks know, I try to post on my Instagram at Attorney Gage, ATTORNEYGAGE, developments on cases, so they can keep up on that. With respect to how the community can help us, I think having support, showing up at council meetings, writing letters to the police chief, demanding change. And as we have more and more community awareness, more and more community members coming out, it can make change. It's slow. Just look at the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That didn't start then, it started in the 50s. And maybe Martin Luther King helped to bridge the gap and create change. And yet, 64 was a long time ago. I was just a little kid. And now I'm still seeing it as an adult. So the more we can make it, bring community awareness and make it an issue on the forefront, the better it's going to be. Because Pasadena PD is just a microcosm of other police departments and these kinds of issues that we're seeing, whether it's racism in hiring, racism in treating the employees a certain way, or racial profiling of the community. And really, we should not be talking about black people or brown people. All we should be talking about is humans, because that's what we are. The fact that the color of your skin, sometimes your religion, can result in hatred and different treatment is what we're trying to stop and trying to make a positive change and bring justice.
Can you give some examples of how they were trying to force White out?
Well, he was in situations at the police department in which he then needed to go to certain locations because of that. And at first, the department was putting him there, as I understand it, but then after he became a witness to Jarvis Shelby's situation, those opportunities disappeared, and they tried to put him into situations that they knew he shouldn't be in. I'll leave it at that.
And they took him out of the community.
One clarification, you mentioned that Officer Crutchfield was suspended, is that correct?
She was relieved of duty.
With
Not
or without
suspended.
pay?
With pay. She was relieved of duty. She suffered some other adverse actions, including
What other adverse actions?
extension of her probation for one. And you know, that does raise a good example of disparate treatment. There were 2 probationary officers on the department about the same time, both facing claims, at least, of doing something wrong. Tyson was one of them, and there was a Latina as the other one. And this other probationary officer was accused of furnishing alcohol to 3 on-duty Pasadena police officers in uniform outside of the jurisdiction, who then drove their police cars and had their guns. As far as we know, there was no punishment to any of those officers, none of whom were black, and no punishment to the probationary officer, and her probation was not extended. So when you want to talk about unfair treatment, you just have to compare what's going on. If black people and black officers are treated more harshly all the time than non-black people, that is a huge red flag. Something is wrong. And as this man talked about, culture trumps protocols, it also trumps policies. And so you might have policies saying treat everybody fairly, but the practice is very different. Thank you all so much.
That's the Pasadena way, though. We live in a city.
Have a nice day.